Now that you've gone through the first, the earlier videos showing the fonts, the image fonts, and how to alter them, play around with them, and create the pictures for your colouring books, we're next moving on to is having a look at what the competition is like and what are other people actually putting in their colouring books. Because if you've never published a colouring book before, it's well worth having a look to see what everybody else is doing, just so you can actually create a colouring book along the same lines. So in this case, I had typed in adult colouring book in the book section of the search bar, as you can see up here, and I just picked this colouring book at random, and it's just a colouring book for toddlers. So I just wanted to see how many pages was in this book and what the price was like and all these different things before we actually went any further. So if you've never created a colouring book before, it's well worth coming over to the Amazon store and seeing what everybody else is selling. So in this case here, this is a colouring book for toddlers, and the author has given 100 images of letters, numbers, shapes and key concepts for early childhood learning. Now as well too, I just want to point out that there's large print in this colouring book, so if you were thinking of doing maybe a colouring book tailored towards a younger audience, this would probably be another thing you'd need to be aware of, is maybe include large print so they'll be able to read it easily. And then another thing too you need to be aware is the price points on your colouring books. Like for this 100-page colouring book, the author is selling it for $6.99. So if you were creating a colouring book along the same kind of lines, you would probably want to keep your price around this. Of course, you could go cheaper, but then depending on how much profit you were going to make from that book, you might have to actually sell more books to make a profit. So bear in mind what the price range is like. You don't want to price your book too cheaply or too expensively either. Sometimes actually pricing it maybe too cheaply is working against you, because customers might have the feeling that because if it's too cheap there must be something wrong with it, and you might actually be making less sales by reducing your price. But this is something you can change at any moment, so just be aware of what the price points that the other colouring books have been sold for. So again, you need to look at how your colouring book is going to be laid out. In this case, this colouring book is a portrait shape. It's an upright colouring book. You probably may find some maybe less so, but you probably find some maybe they're actually landscape, which are the other way. So if this is what you want to do, you want to do a horizontal kind of portrait style colouring book, which is what we are going to do. We just want to scroll down and see what image or what is the book dimensions on this book. So we will create a book along the same kind of lines. So we just scroll all the way down here and go past all the different colouring books, and we come down to this section here. So this is the product details of this book. So if we look at it now, this author has put 108 pages in that book. So for $6.99, he's given 108 pages, and the product dimensions, the dimensions of this book are 8.5 by 11 inches. And another thing you need to be aware of then too as well, it's something that's going to come into play later on. Be aware of the categories that this book is in, because when it comes to selecting your categories in the KDP platform dashboard later on, we're going to be doing more, going into this in more detail, but just be aware of where this author is actually, what category this author is putting his book in. Now, I'd highly recommend that you actually go through a couple of the colouring books and just to have a look and see what things like, what are the book covers like, what are the book descriptions like, again, what are the price points, how many pages are on each book, and again, take a note of things like the book categories, so that when it comes to you creating your own book, you'll be well aware of what you need to put down, what categories would be probably best, and what would be the best kind of page count and prices for your book. So in this case, what we're going to do is I'm going to use a template. So we're going to work on the interior of the colouring book, and because this one was, I think it was 8.5 by 11, it was 8.5 by 11, we are going to go with we're going to download a template of that size, and that is a template that we are going to work with. Now, to find the templates for your colouring book, what you can do is come over to this address here. So this is the kdp.amazon.com. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put a button below the video that's going to have this link in it, so you won't actually have to remember it. But this is where we're going to get our template for the manuscript of the interior of the colouring book. So if we just scroll down a little bit here, we're going to choose our template. And there is two options that you can go for. You can go for either a blank template, or you can go for a template with sample content. Now a template with sample content would have kind of placeholders on that template where it would say the title of your book goes here, this part is for your copyright, because as you know, as you probably know, after flicking through a book, like the first page you normally come to is the title page and then the author's name on it. You may flip over the next one then, and it's usually a copyright page and, you know, a foreword and, you know, how the book starts out before it actually gets to the meat of the book. So in this case here, this template is going to give you sample content and where to put in your sample content. But in this case, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to make it easier for ourselves, just because we've never created a book before. I'm just going to use a blank template, and just to show you how easy it is to work with it. So again, these are all the different dimension sizes, and what we were looking for was we were looking to have 8.5 by 11 inches. So that is the book dimensions that we want. So because of that, we're just going to click on this link here. I've already downloaded, so I'm not going to do it now. But if you click on that link there, Microsoft Word doc is going to download with those dimensions, and we're going to open it up next in Word, and I'm going to show you how to play around with it and how to fill in the content that you're going to have on the interior part of your colouring book. I'll see you in the next video.